Hi, guys, here he comes.
Guy, any gist today?
What are we doing today? Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
All right, welcome to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM, the sound of Lagos. This is the part where we get to talk trending stories on the front pages of our dailies. And we have our papers here with us, Vanguard, The Guardian, The Punch, and of course the Nation newspapers. All right, and we'll see what are the trending stories. Today is Thursday, so by 8:40 we move on to Mainland Focus. But today being Thursday, it means that it's going to be open mic. There's not going to be any focus. There's no focal point. There's no talking point. We can all just discuss, or you can pick whichever or whatever trending story that's going to be discussed now. According to your interest, whichever one piques your interest, let's have a conversation around that. My name is OMOBOLA Sandra, and I'm here in the studio with Sage Babalola. Good morning.
Good morning, Sandra.
All right, let's get on with it. Of course, FUHAD SAHEED will be joining in also via the phone line as we dig deep into the papers this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Before we go any further, have you collected your PVC? Very, very important that you please go to collect your PVC. You have between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Mondays through Sundays. There's no weekend, or they don't close for the weekend. It's also opened during the weekends, and you have from now till 15th of January to pick up at the wards and the areas. Okay, very, very important. A lot of people were complaining about the local government offices being too far or being too congested, but the wards now, we are getting information that it's easier. Okay, so you still have the opportunity from now till 15th of January to go to the wards level, the area levels, and pick up your PVC. From 16th of January to 22nd of January is going back to the local government offices. Then if you were not able to pick it up now, that means you have to go to the local government offices, to the INEC local government offices, to pick up your PVC. So you have Mondays through Sundays. Today is 12th of January. Okay, so you have Mondays through Sundays. It's free for you to go in 9 a.m. between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Go in, breeze out, pick up your PVC. Very, very important that you do that. Please, we're enjoying you. Thank you very much. All right, let's get on with it. But before then, good morning, FUHAD.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra. Good morning, Sage.
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. All right, so we're starting with our conversation. We're starting our conversation this morning from the Guardian newspaper with a major headline there saying INEC assures polls must hold, says 93.4 million eligible to vote. And we have riders to that saying deletes underaged voters, Lagos, Kano maintain lead, Southeast lowest. Commission begins airlift of sensitive materials to states. IPAC vows to resist any anti-democratic forces. So, as it is now, I remember that INEC had cried out, due to concerns as regards the insecurity in different parts of the country, whether or not there will be an election in some areas of the country, and if there are no elections in those areas, of course, it would affect the entire country. So, what we have now is an update as regards that, and INEC is coming forward to say they are not considering postponement or cancellation of the election due to security threat. And this was stated while presenting data of registered voters to political parties in Abuja by the INEC chairman himself. And for avoidance of doubts, the presidential and National Assembly elections will hold on Saturday, February 25, 2023. While governorship and state assembly elections will hold 2 weeks later on Saturday, 11th of March, 2023. So INEC is giving assurance that the elections will hold as scheduled. But then, do you think we should just quickly move past, the concern that was raised? Hopefully, INEC has not been pressured into being calm about the situation. Should we still forge ahead with being extremely security conscious?
Well, I think we can still go with the fact that INEC has to show that they are prepared for the election in terms of logistics, in terms of distribution of materials. The voter list is now out. The political parties now have it. I think according to INEC, out of about 14 things they're supposed to do to conduct the elections this year, they've done 11. So I think we just have about 3 to go. So if we go by that, yes, we can say, okay, INEC is doing well in terms of its own internal plans and arrangements to conduct the elections. Our concerns are not majorly about INEC's preparedness in terms of their logistics and internal plans. It's more about those external factors beyond the control of INEC. That's what we are concerned about, Sandra. So yes, INEC may get all the logistics ready. They may all the ballot papers are printed. Ad hoc staff well trained. The beavers are all prepped up and ready for the elections. But what of all those things beyond the control of INEC, which majorly is about security? So INEC can assure that yes, they are prepared for the elections. We're not going to cancel anything. But what of the reality of the security situation that we have in the country? That's what we're talking about. And we can't over-talk it. We can't over-speak about it, because those are genuine concerns that we should continue to talk about for us to have, a secure environment to conduct the election.
All right, moving on now. Yeah, okay. Well, as it is now, security agents are also giving assurances for adequate protection of personnel, materials, and processes, and also reinforcing their determination to proceed with the elections. Also bringing to 4 is the breakdown of how each geopolitical zone is doing as regards registration for the elections, as regards registration for the elections. So in a breakdown, we have the Northwest having the highest, with Northwest having the highest increment. We also have the Southwest following, the North Central after that, and in the 4th position is the South. And of course, finally, is the Southeast with the lowest record. As of 2019, the Southeast had 10 million registered voters, and between 2019 and now, the only increase they have is 900,000. So this has now risen to 10.9 million people who are registered and ready to cast their votes in the Southeast. All right, and moving forward from there, we also have the Commission has commenced airlifting of other sensitive materials to states across the country, adding that some of the materials for 17 states in 3 geopolitical zones had been delivered. So INEC is doing everything and anything that's possible to ensure that this is going as smooth and as seamless as possible, and hopefully we can actually take their words for it. All right, more details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Yes, that's INEC assuring that the polls must hold. Now, we also have here insecurity. Police direct operatives to intensify stop and search operation in the FCT. and that is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And there are riders to that. We have 24 kidnapped victims rescued, gunmen kill man and kidnap family members. So there's still the issue of insecurity, and this report now is from the Federal Capital Territory. And what we have is that the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 7 Police Command, Kaude Egbetokun, has directed operatives of the Nigeria Police Force of the FCT Command to intensify stop and search operations in the city. Stop and search. He's saying that this is to a stop and search that's devoid of extortion and to ensure efficient utilization of resources and building confidence. But I'm more concerned with the way our policemen do their own stop and search. So is this going to in any way help the situation?
Sandra, just reading the story, even the policeman, issuing this statement has his own concerns too about the problem of extortion.
Exactly.
And again, sometimes you want to ask yourself, Sandra, what is modern practice of policing? Yes, you find in other parts of the world that people are stopped and searched at intervals, depending on the leads that the police have gotten about someone, or maybe just using their own discretion and all of that. But when you say you want to intensify stop and search in the capital city, whether you like it or not, we've seen these things go into clear modes of extortion. There's no way they're going to stop it. People are going to be extorted, harassed, and all of that. I would think that the police should begin to think of deploying more technology to doing things like this. Intelligence gathering, use of technology, and all of that. You hardly find people being stopped. Okay, this stop and search probably are we going to be having more patrols? Are there going to be more roadblocks? What's going to be the mode of operation? Because when you say you want to intensify stop and search, again, to fight what precisely?
Kidnapping.
What would the stop and search do? Sorry?
Kidnapping.
So you are going to stop kidnapping by intensifying stop and search?
Well, as regards the insecurity, because what they're saying is that this will effectively man black spots, sustain the tempo in the raid of criminal hideouts. That's basically insecurity in the FCT.
A raid is different too. If it's a raid of criminal hideouts, that's targeted operation. You know where you're going. But when you say stop and search, you're going to be stopping people at random, and I don't know how that will stop kidnapping. You understand what I'm saying? Because if it's about, criminal hideouts, black spots, these are like targeted operations. You know where you're going. You already have an intel about locations, and of course you want to swoop on them. That is understandable. But when you say you want to intensify stop and search, it would like to hear from Mr. Egbetokun what exactly the stop and search will do to fight kidnapping, unless there are other crimes that the single stop and search would have to do. But I just feel that if they decide to intensify it, means there are going to be more policemen on the road in the FCT. Of course, stopping cars, searching them, disrupting the flow of online Nigeria. And the reality is that it will be subjected to extortion of people. We know these things, we see it every day. And unfortunately, it will not solve anything in terms of insecurity issues that we have. It will not solve any problem.
Well, there are other reports in this particular story, or there are other stories in this particular report, but then are just also encouraging the police force and trying to assure them that resources are available for them to carry out their job, and encouraging them for the task ahead. There's not really much as just intensifying stop and search. And just as FUHAD has said, I don't really understand how that is going to in any way curb insecurity. But then we'll see, how it goes. Let's try all tactics. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Safety system failure in U.S. grounds over 5,000 flights. That's on page 18. We also have here Obi Kwakwanso Yakubu for Chatham House next week. That is the presidential candidates of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, the NNPP, Kwakwanso, and the INEC chairman himself will be making an appearance at Chatham House next week. More details on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. So we'll see how that will turn out, and we'll be waiting to hear from all of them. All right, yes. Moving on now, we also have here on the front page of the Guardian, Supreme Court rules on Jigawa APC Guba ticket tomorrow as appeal court upholds Kaduna's. All right, just an update to that one. We have here on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper the details of that particular story. So what we have is that the Supreme Court will tomorrow lay to rest the APC governorship ticket tussle in Jigawa State. And a 5-member panel has fixed the date for the judgment after taking argument from parties in the appeal that was filed by former minority leader of House of Representatives Farouk Adamu Aliu and the cross appeal by sitting Deputy Governor Umar Namadi. All right, and we'll get more details as regards that when that happens tomorrow. Also, the Court of Appeal in Kaduna State yesterday dismissed an appeal brought against INEC, APC, and its governorship candidate Uba Sani by the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP. It's saying here that the appeal or the case before the Court of Appeal Kaduna seeking to disqualify the APC gubernatorial candidate and all 34 candidates for the State House of Assembly in the forthcoming general elections has just been dismissed. That is an update. It will be interesting to recall that following the judgment of the Federal High Court sitting in Kaduna, which ruled that the case filed by NNPP and its governorship candidate, Senator Suleiman Othman Hunkui, against INEC for listing Senator Uba Sani as governorship candidate of APC and 34 candidates of Kaduna State constituencies is status barred. The party and its gubernatorial candidate had challenged the ruling at the Court of Appeal, and that has been dismissed. That more details also on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on now, we also have bandits kill 2, abduct 4 women in Kaduna. It's okay, and that's on page 30. And finally, on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, Edo train attack, 20 kidnapped, not 32, says Commissioner. We have been having, I've actually been having interesting, or despairing statements as regards that. Remember, some 2 days or so ago, the police also, there were reports that 6 people had been rescued, and then the kidnappers themselves put out information that, oh no, nobody has been rescued, we still have people here with us and all of that. And now we're also getting another one here saying the Commissioner for Communication in Edo State, Mr. Chris Nhikare, says intelligence report has indicated that 20 persons were kidnapped and not 32 as reported. And he noted that 7 of the abducted persons had been rescued, recalling that the victims were waiting for a 4 p.m. train when the kidnappers came in. And he's saying that the kidnappers successfully kidnapped 20 persons and not 32 as previously reported. Okay, but how do we get to... Okay, please go ahead.
Sandra, it's now clear that we don't have proper information on the situation of things. I think we're just been working with the guesswork. If you listen to the commissioner very well, Chris, he has been doing what I can call it guesswork. He doesn't have the accurate information on the passengers or the people that have been kidnapped from that train station. It's completely clear. Even on the rescues, on the people that have been rescued, he doesn't have the exact information. That's why you have figures moving from 30 to 31 to 32, and then now you have 20. And then you may want to ask yourself, where did the 32 number came from before? Who brought that number up? Who collected it?
How did we arrive at that number? Yeah.
Arrive at that 30 was 31 before. To now reduce it to 20. Who gave that information? Who wrote that press release and made that statement? On what basis were those numbers given before? For us to now downgrade it to 20. You know, so it now means that we have a serious problem with this particular issue. As we speak now, it's almost about how many days? I think about 4 or 5 days.
Yes.
Going.
Saturday.
And the longer this Saturday to now is about how many days? I think about 4 days going now. So and the reality of what we have on ground is that, look, the longer the catches remain with these abductors, the more difficult it will be to rescue them. And the advantage now goes to the other side. They are now in a better position to negotiate and make demands from the families of these victims, from governments and from everybody. Because we have lost a lot of time. If the response was swift, we have been able to do the right thing, maybe we would have been able to rescue them or probably neutralize this guy. But now I think we are on the advantage now as a key. It just goes to show that whatever happened in the Kaduna Abuja thing attack, we learned nothing. And the Edo State government has been struggling, to put out statements to show that they are on top of the situation. We've not been hearing so much from the police. Really, nothing has been, not much information has come from the police. I think the Edo State government trying to, put out information to show that they are on top of the situation, which means not doing their job. The fact that it's happening in their state does not mean it has to do their job for the commissioner to continue to issue statements. We agree that there's jurisdiction in the state, but the reality is that we don't have proper information on what happened at that train station, and it's also unfortunate.
Very unfortunate, actually, because so many disparate reports and stories coming from that particular one. But we'll keep looking at the reports, and we'll keep getting some updates as regards that one. It trends in the papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. Over to you, Sage.
All right. Yes, thank you very much. Good morning once again, FUHAD. So let's look at the Nation.
Good morning.
Yes, thank you. Let's look at the Nation newspaper. The top story here. Northwest, Southwest top 93.5 million likely voters. I think this story is replicated across all the papers this morning. Lagos leads with 7 million. INEC releases voters list to parties. 49.5 million men, 44.4 million women, and 37 million youths registered. So that this shows that we have a very high number of youths registers as compared to last year. We see more youth involvement in the process, and we see that Lagos is leading with a 7 million vote. This numbers is exciting. INEC is quite optimistic, especially since they've seen an increase in the number of registrations compared to 2019, 84.2 million, and now we have 93.5 million. But is this really something to be excited about? Because Lagos also had a high number of people who registered, but they had one of the, if not the lowest voter turnout at that time. Of the over 5 million people that registered or that went to collect their PVC, only 1 million people showed up to vote, and I'm talking specifically about Lagos State. So Lagos have 7 million, altogether the aggregate sum 93.5 million, good numbers, but then does this necessarily translate to a high number of voter turnout? Does that necessarily mean that people would really come out and exercise their franchise, especially with the underlying issues that we're dealing with, insecurity being top of that list?
Well, we are hoping that we're going to have a different situation this time, that the voter turnout will be more encouraging, improve substantially. Because like you pointed out, even in Lagos, the last time out, over 5 million they registered to vote. Just about 1 million came out to vote. That's like how many percent of the entire number? I think the data that we have, the data that we have from 1999, we've always had situations where the entire number of voters that come out to vote on election day is always less than 30%. From the 100%, likely from 100%, you have less than 30%. I think the only time we had about 50%, 54% of registered voters who came out to vote was in, I think, 2015 or so. It has always been between 34% of registered voters coming to vote on election day. So now we have 93 million registered voters. Yes, it's enough to get anybody excited that, yes, Nigerians are ready. The youth too, over 30-something million youths ready to vote. That should excite anybody that, look, Nigerians are ready. We are hoping to get it right this time. But, are we going to have a lot of these people come out to vote on election day? We are doing our part as a media outfit. I see SANDRA keeps talking about people going out to collect their PVC, encouraging people to go out there and collect their PVC. And look, there's nothing like really coming out to vote. You've done the part of registering. The other part, which is the most important part, is to go out on election day and vote. So we are hoping that at least this time, if we can see 70-80% of registered voters come out to vote, that will be a very big one, a fantastic one for the country. So we can only be hopeful, but I agree with you. High number of registration does not translate into high number of voters. But we can only, encourage people and continue to, sensitize Nigerians that, look, it's not enough to just register. You must also go out and vote on election day.
Right. Thank you very much. So let's look at this story here. More details on the front page of the Nation newspaper. It's the first story on there and is on the front page. So there's another story here. APC PPC challenges Atiku on alleged corruption health status. We see here that there's been a lot of questions about Atiku, because as you know, a lot of people have been questioning the health status of one presidential candidate. Are you fit? Are you ready? Can you take on the rigors that comes with ruling the nation? Well, Atiku is now under that kind of scrutiny, especially after allegations by his former aide Michael Achimugu. It came up that aside from misappropriation of funds, which was one of the accusations leveled against the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, we see here that even his health might be in question. A report here is indicating that whilst he was away December 12th of 2022 to December 21st, 2022, initially we were made to believe that he went out of the country on invitation by certain British officials, for political matters and what have you. But we're being told now, at least the papers or the reports are insinuating that, according to what his former aide said, that it's not for any invitation or to discuss any political matters or matters of leadership. He was sick and he went there to seek medical help. So let's talk about the implication or the repercussion that these allegations might have on the aspirations of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. These allegations coming up, should we just consider this one of these things that happened during the election period, where accusations will come up, people would accuse you of doing certain things, you see calumny, people will start to dig into your past and what have you, and if they don't find anything, they would make up stories? Or these are things that we should actually start to pay attention to, aside from integrity, also the health status of the PDP presidential candidate?
Well, when it comes to health status, I think we cannot overflog that. We've always questioned the health status of all the presidential candidates. I think particularly that of the candidate of the APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because of some of the flaws that we've seen from him in his public showings, public outings. But Atiku is also under scrutiny. There have been questions about his health status too. People have said that no, whatever he went to do in London was just a part of a routine of him also getting some medical help and all of those kind of things. Unfortunately, we're in a country where people would politic with anything, would also make room for assumptions and insinuations. Because, for example, I said that, look, if you have a health challenge as a presidential candidate, there's no reason why you should not publish it. Oh, this is what I'm going through. If you go online, Sage, the entire health status of Joe Biden, the president of America, is out there online. What he's treating, the issues he has, the doctors treating him, the hospital he's attending, what the doctors have said. Everything is clear in the open for anybody to check. But here you have people hiding things, and then of course give rooms for all these kinds of insinuation. What's there? Oh, I'm that. For example, if a presidential candidate is diabetic, oh, I'm diabetic. This is what I'm going through. This is the routine. This is the doctor taking care of me. You will see that of Joe Biden there, live, everything that is going on with him as far as his health is concerned. So that does not give room for any form of insinuation. But be that as it may, yes, the political parties will continue to do these things, come up with stories, throw out insinuations and that. But remember again, you've just mentioned the Sage. This is the time for campaign. This is serious politicking going on. And like I said yesterday, while they've activated their campaign, they have also activated their propaganda machinery across board. So some of these things are just games, throw out there, cook up stories, throw things in the paper, sponsor stories and all of those kind of things, of course, to sway the minds of the people or roughen the opposition, But the reality is, and for me, the advice to Nigerians is that we should keep our eyes on the ball. Yes, we have a right to know the health status of all the presidential candidates. But while we do that, we must not lose focus. The main focus is to listen to the things they want to do, to all of the things affecting us as a nation now, than getting too distracted with some of these things. Okay, what are we going to do with this story now? Or I think we think he's not sick. We've been seeing pictures of him holding meetings, having meetings with UK officials. So the reality is that we should be careful to allow these politicians distract us too much and then get us distracted from keeping our eyes on the ball. That will be my comment on this morning.
Right. Let's also check this one here. Ekiti, indebted to Tinubu, says Governor Oyebanji. The Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji has said people will vote massively. I was going to ask that question. That people will vote massively for the All Progressives Congress. He threw me off course. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he has been a father figure. He has been, he's been good. He's been a father figure. He's been great, and he's the best candidate. So I'm asking the question: what really qualifies you as a great leader? Is it because you have done something for people in the past? Is that enough to qualify you as somebody who can actually carry out your responsibility as a president? Is this a pay forward strategy that because you've been good to me, I would deliver votes to you? Is that supposed to be a system that we should incorporate into our electoral process?
I think the governor Yemani should just make it a personal thing. He is indebted to Asiwaju Bola Ahmed. He's not a kitty people. When you say the kitty people are indebted to how? That's why I say you borrow the money. Maybe they have gone to borrow money.
How?
But
Like the entire state.
How?
The entire state.
The entire state is indebted to Asiwaju. How? Is it that daddy? They say he's a father people. How now?
I don't understand.
Some of these things, politicians have a way of just making statements to just bamboozle us and make us look stupid. If the governor, for whatever reason, maybe at night they've done some meetings and he has done something, maybe helping to finance his campaign before becoming governor or whatever, or the fact that, look, the ex governor, FIME used to be a body loan, as they like to call themselves, right from the body loan era and all of that, and then if that's what he's saying, you should just pass like that. The governor of Ekiti, I'm indebted to Asiwaju. I'm going to campaign for him, not to lump up the entire Ekiti state that they are indebted to Asiwaju. How? This thing about this sense of entitlement. God bless you, Sandra. You should be entitled to personal things, not the rules. So that's why I had to ask us. Maybe if the government can tell us that there was a time we needed to pay salaries, so we ran to Asiwaju and he gave us 50 billion, so we need to pay him back. But not that you are indebted. I think the politicians should be careful the way they make this statement, so I don't make us look stupid. The government may be indebted to Asiwaju. It's not a problem. That's their own personal thing. So, but again, it is what it is. I think people will decide really what they are indebted to or not and vote.
Well, that's all the major stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Thank you very much, Sage. Let's move on now to Vanguard very quickly. You're listening to Trends in the Papers on 98.3 Mainland FM. Now, the front page of Vanguard, the major headlines there, of course, polls 93.47 million voters to participate, says INEC. And the riders to that, we have vows to go ahead with election, presents voters' registers to parties. North gets 50.162 million voters. South 43.305 million. Northwest, Southwest top zones. All right, and that is the report that we're getting. More details on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper, just so you can follow the trajectory, and of course we all know how the breakdown of how each zone is supposed to provide a certain number of votes for a particular person to have considered to have won a presidential election. Let's because these numbers are very important, very, very important. We can't say we have 43 million registered voters, and then when we are counting we have 45 million voters. So this is why these numbers are very important for us to keep up with. More details on page 9 of Vanguard newspaper. Also, we have here tension in Ondo as soldiers allegedly attack PDP members, and that is on page 10 of Vanguard newspaper. So what we have in that particular story is that Okay, yes. The PDP in Ondo State yesterday raised an alarm over the attack of its members in Idore local government area by alleged soldiers, and the party is accusing the lawmaker representing Idore Ifedore Federal Constituency, as Mr. Tajuddin Adefisoye, of masterminding the attack on its members and the destruction of shops where members were holding a meeting. All right, and reacting to this alleged invasion, the lawmaker himself has denied the allegation, saying he didn't bring soldiers to the town. And now I'm going to quote, open quote, "I didn't bring soldiers to Idore. It was the candidate of PDP for the House of Representatives, Festus Akingbasho, and his supporters that attacked me. They destroyed my cars, and the windscreen of my car was pierced by a bullet." All right, and that is from the lawmaker himself. Now, when contacted, the police said the matter was under investigation, and they have moved into to ensure peace in the community, and they are working with the community with a view to apprehending perpetrators of such a dastardly act. And that is what we have on that particular report from Ondo State. More details on page 10. I did it, you didn't do it, you did it, I did it, you didn't do it, you did it, I did it.
So instead of us wasting time on this, I think what we can only do is to appeal to our politicians to help us have a violence-free election.
Yes.
Because if we are going to have a violence-free election, a lot of things will have to come from the politicians. They are the ones that start this thing. You know, a lot of politicians arm these youth, they give them more manner of dangerous weapons, and they also assure them, if you are arrested, I'll go there and bail you and get you out. So you have these guys running amok for them.
Well,
so just to appeal to our politicians.
All right. Okay. All right. So just putting out there, the point is an attack happened. Whether somebody did it or an attack happened. So hopefully the police will dig deeper via the investigations. All right. We also have here on the front page of Vanguard newspaper, law, 1 million naira for SAN application. Lawyers are divided over the fee. I've always heard that applying to become a senior advocate of Nigeria, is an interesting ordeal, And what we are having as regards this particular story is that unlike previous years when applicants were required to pay 600,000 naira for the award, the LPPC, that's the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee, in a notice stated that lawyers applying for the award were now required to pay a non-refundable processing fee of 1 million naira. That's interesting. So what we have now is okay, I'm with you, because there are different there are different reactions to it. Some people are saying, the fee increase is fair. Someone like former dean of Nigerian Law School, the Enugu campus, Professor Ernest Ojukwu, is insisting that the new increase was fair considering the inflation rate in the country. Saying
I wanted to say that everything has gone up now.
So a fee is important to support the processes for the management of the SAN award, since the program is self-financing and not supported with any other fund or endowment. We also have a law lecturer, Professor Sam Erugo, also supported the fee increase, stating that 1 million naira processing fee for the award of Senior Advocate of Nigeria is relatively cheap compared to rates in other countries. And then we also have a former president of Committee for Defense of Human Rights saying the LPPC may need to review the 1 million naira fee, as the award will now attract only money bags in the profession, saying that it's granted that the award of conferment of the rank of SAN is a privilege and entirely at the discretion of the LPPC. Thus, the amount at which the processing fee is fixed is equally at their prerogative. However, that rank has always symbolized and represented the peak of a professional career in terms of learning and character. So it has not or never intended to be a measure of material acquisition or worth. So he's looking at it from the perspective of, that means it's only people that have money that can become SAN. That's what he's saying. And then another person is also disagreeing, saying that this would mean that the award will now be commercialized, and that's coming from Executive Director of Cadrell Advocacy Center, Mr. Evans Ofeli, who is saying that that implication of this is commercializing the award. But what says you, Fuad? Looking at both reactions, we have the fours, the yeas, and the nays. What would you say?
Well, what we're saying, the thing is, I think there are benchmarks. There are levels of achievement that you must have attained as a lawyer for you to even think of applying for that position, the senior advocate of Nigeria. I think years of practice, the number of things that you must have done as a bench for you to
number of cases and all of that.
The whole of it. So I would think that anybody that has been able to do all of that, a ₦1 million application fee would not be too much to pay. I'm not for anything commercialization of awards and titles and all of that. I agree that it's not always the right thing to do, but on this one, if you look at it logistics wise, I don't know how these things are done. The lawyers would know arrangements, organization like this. I think it's just privately funded, as one of the lawyers have said, and so I don't think you have gotten to that point where you think you deserve the title of senior advocate of Nigeria, and paying a =1 million processing fee would be too much. I really don't think so. I don't think this should even make the news, because it was initially 600,000. I did a 400,000 processing fee to it. For me, I don't think it's too much for you to think. I have years of practice as a lawyer. Some of the things you should have done. I don't think =1 million should be a problem for you to apply for it, so that we don't scandalize these things. I don't think we have to.
Because I was discussing with people. I think it's about 10 years. You have to have been 10 years in service, and you have to have handled some certain cases, and you have to have worked with some certain chambers, and position in where you work, all those other criteria and all. But from our own perspective, because we're not lawyers. But then more details of that on page 14 of Vanguard newspaper. Brain drain: Nigeria loses over 1,800 doctors, healthcare workers in December 2022, and that's coming from the Medical Association and NMA, and that's on page 24 of Vanguard newspaper. And
keeps going up.
Yes.
I think the news keeps going up.
And finally, from Vanguard, we still have one more paper there with Sage. Here we have presidency. Tinubu Atiku trade words over health and credibility status. And the writers to that worry about ex-VP's health credibility, not me. Tinubu tells Nigerians, "You're unfit to hold office as president." Atiku Okowa mocks APC candidates. So everybody's unfit.
I think the two presidential candidates should be careful. The two of them on this issue of health, the two of them should be careful. The fact life is on both of them, actually, on their health status. They should just maintain their, they should respect themselves.
There's no, exactly, thank you. There's no one that will say, okay, we need to know your own first before we know this. No, both of them, I think we need to.
Yes. Both of them have clear health challenges that we can see.
Yes, both of them. So there's no one. I don't understand why this one is saying worry about, this one is saying you are not fit, this one, but then more details on more details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. Over to you, Sage.
Yes, thank you. So let's very briefly run through the Punch newspaper. The top stories, of course, Northwest, Southwest top 93 million voter register. We already spoke about that. So let's check out the stories here. Marketers project 6-month fuel scarcity. Well, they're telling us that it's casey that are still like this. Anyways, so there's more to come, according to the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that the fuel scarcity will persist. There's really nothing, there's no light at the end of the tunnel for now, and it's been exacerbated because of the removal of fuel subsidy that would happen in June. So they're saying that from June, or till June, there's not going to be any good news, at least from all the information that they have at this particular point in time. Yes, 3.6 trillion has been projected or has been budgeted or set aside for subsidy till June. But from that June, I don't know what's going to happen to Nigerians. I don't know how much petrol PMS is going to be available for. That's if it's available. And if it's available, how affordable the product will be is something that they cannot exactly tell us at this point in time. This projection, FUHAD, it would be rhetorical to say what should we do about this, or what do you think of this, because the answer is really staring us in the face. But still, speak to this projection by the marketers.
Well, they are the ones that should know, and that was why the last time out when NNPC announced that I shut down some filling station, I said it was just pure hypocrisy. And because I don't think any filling station would be so bold to sell a liter of fuel at 250 naira if really there's no problem with supply and pricing. And up till now, we have still not gotten any tangible thing, anything meaningful from the NNPC on what initially led to the disruption in supply, on why the NNPC depots don't have the supply, but the private depots have, on why the private depots are selling to independent marketers at almost 190, 200 naira per liter. Those are questions that we should have answers to, and nobody's telling us anything. And then the only thing we can see is just a display of hypocrisy, going around shutting down filling stations and saying, the reality is that there's a problem. There's a problem. And in the midst of all of this, say, are we still paying subsidy? Because I've been buying in the last 1 or 2 weeks now a liter. I've been buying at 250 naira per liter because I can't remain on queue for 2-3 hours. I have a lot of things to do with my time. So the reality is that, look, it's almost like the level of impunity in other sectors have gotten to the height in the oil sector. Nobody is held to account. Nobody answers to anything. NNPC is on a free rein. And they've left Nigeria to continue to talk. You can talk for all you care. Because it's the highest level of impunity I've ever seen in my life. So Nigerians should just brace up. So it means that, look, we are going to battle this for the next 6 months. Till May or June.
Right.
As they said. And it's unfortunate.
Right. Well, let's look through this story here before we run out of time. PDP in talks with 11 parties for alliance ahead of course, the February 25th presidential election. The People's Democratic Party has confirmed that talks are ongoing with 11 other parties. I think yesterday we saw in the papers that the All Progressives Congress are also in talks with smaller parties, so to speak. And we've seen some parties actually say, "Oh, we've examined all the candidates, and we know the ones we're going to follow. We are definitely going to support the presidential candidate of the APC." The PDP, they're also saying the same thing. They say that these parties are actually the ones approaching us, as they know that they're not very strong, and so they're deciding to align themselves with us. There's been a conversation about placeholder or not. Do you think that this is a manifestation, or this cements the initial notion that most of these candidates, they're just there to warm the seat? Or what say you?
Say by maybe 10 days. Wait now. By 10 days to the election, you would know whether these guys are placeholder. I made a prediction yesterday. It's anything very close. 10 days, 5 days to the election, you begin to see all manner of declaration. My mind tells me that some of these guys are just placeholders. In fact, don't be surprised that the bigger guys have sponsored some of these guys to go get those tickets from other parties. It's not impossible, because the way some of these other parties are even running their campaign, you know that they are not even serious. Let us look at Lagos. Let us even look at Lagos. The small political parties, what have they been doing to really talk to Lagosians? Right. And they have the tickets of these parties as government candidates. So even presidential candidates, there's none that SANDRA can bear with us, that we've been talking to. Every time he keeps giving us appointments and changing it at the last minute. And I thought, sir, this one is not serious to be president. That one, I can tell you, sir, that one I won't mention. He's a placeholder.
He's a placeholder. I agree with you.
So let's just a minute. Yes, in a minute before we go. INEC cannot be trusted for credible poll. The candidate of the African Action Congress, Omoyele Sowore, has said that INEC cannot be trusted. The integrity of INEC has been questioned once again. He referenced 2019 election where, the postponement by 2 weeks, those who traveled from all over the country to support him had to leave because of the postponement, and we're seeing that happening again. So INEC might not be as independent as we would like to think. What are your thoughts?
No, so just for 30 seconds. I think Shore would always have problem with INEC. And he has problem with everybody. It's understandable. The reality is that we have no choice than to trust INEC, and we just have to trust them. We have okay. What's the other choice? If we don't trust INEC, okay, who do we trust? At least they are still the umpire that must conduct the election. So
God
we are bound to trust INEC. It is INEC we trust. As far as in God and INEC we trust to conduct a credible election. God help us.
Right. Well, that's it for the Punch newspaper.
All right, thank you very much, Sage. That is for trends in the papers for this morning. We'll be back by 8:40 for Mainland Focus. And today being Thursday, there's no focus for today. So a lot of trending stories that we had this morning. So all you have to do is pick one that piques your interest, and let's have a conversation around it. All right, that's what we're going to be doing today. Thank you very much, FUHAD, for standing by. We'll have you back on Mainland Focus by 8:40.
No problem. Thank you. I'm here.
All right. My name still remains OMOBOLA, Sandra, and Sage. BABALOLA is also here, and we will be right back. You're listening to 98.3 Mainland FM.